Hey everyone, I'm Whitney. I'm a registered nurse, and today I'm going to tell you about my very first Code Blue experience. So let's just get straight to it. So first things first, a Code Blue is an emergency situation in which somebody's heart has stopped or their breathing has stopped. But nevertheless, if there's not an immediate intervention, they are not going to make it. They're going to die or they're already dying. So a Code Blue is like a really big deal, especially on like a med surg floor, which is the type of floor I'm worked on, because typically the patients are a little bit, or a lot more stable than, let's say, like in the ICU or in the emergency room. So we don't always see a whole lot of Code Blues on my unit. So luckily for me, this Code Blue actually happened while I was still on preceptorship, which meant I was still in training. So anytime you're hired as a new grad nurse, you're not just gonna just start working as a nurse. You have to have either, like, most places will do either an 8 to 12 week training period where you're working directly under another nurse, and they're there to answer questions and guide you and essentially teach you how to be a nurse in real life and not like a nursing school nurse, because huge difference, right? But anyway, so this was actually towards the end of my training, to where I'm like more so in charge of the care. My preceptor is just the one that's there to kind of like look over my charting, answer any questions I have, make sure I'm on the right track to be on my own. So anyways, I'm just getting to work. It's like any other day. I check out the assignment. I'm seeing who my patients are for the day, looking them up, looking up their history, what orders I have for them. Next thing I know, the night shift nurse is ready to give me a report. So we go ahead and just start doing our bedside report. And with bedside report, it's basically literally just go to the patient's bedside, you, the previous nurse from the previous shift, and then the patient. They're going to give you all the updates, everything that happened over their shift, what's going on with them, what we're doing about it, and basically like what's the plan of care. So we get to the patient's room. He's actually, very independent. He just came from the bathroom. He's sat back down in bed and he's sitting back, and we give a shift report, and then we're about to head out and go to the next patient's room. But right before we leave, the telemetry technician calls the phone and is like, hey, the sensor isn't picking up his heart rate. And basically, just to kind of explain that, not only is my unit a med surg unit, but it's a med surg telemetry unit, which means some of the patients on the unit, they have like these sticky pads on their chest that monitor their heart rate and rhythm. And we have a telemetry technician who is looking at everybody's heart rates on a big screen and just making for sure everything's okay, making for sure there's not anything wonky going on, like somebody has a super high heart rate or a super low heart rate. And they're just there to call and alert us if anything's going on so we could check on that patient. So in this particular instance, the telemetry tech, they call and they're like, hey, yeah, so we're not getting the heart rate for your patient. And we're like, oh, okay, there must be something wrong with the telemetry box, because we were literally just there. He's literally just walking and he literally just sat down. So I'm like already halfway out the door. So the previous shift nurse is like, sure, like I'll take care of it. I mean, like, it's probably the battery box or something. Next thing I know, the previous shift nurse, she's like, we need to call Code Blue. And I was like, what? He's not responsive. He doesn't have a pulse. We need to call Code Blue. I'm like, he was just walking. What do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? And the way she said it was just so calm. So I'm just like, at first second, I'm like, I don't really believe it. I'm like, there's no way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's because just the switch just happened just so quick. Normally, you're so used to like the medical TV dramas where it's like something big and dramatic happens and then they call Code Blue. No, he was literally walking, sat down, and apparently pulseless now. So in my mind, I was like, holy crap. Like, I feel like, in my head, I'm like, this is a big deal. But at the same time, I'm like, why does everything just seem like, it wasn't what I was expecting my first Code Blue to be. I was expecting like this big old series of dramatic events to lead up to it, and then it's a Code Blue. But no, it's literally just happened just like that. Bam, pulseless. It's like, okay, what do we do now? So the nurse, she, presses the Code Blue button. My preceptor, she runs to go get the crash cart. And then me, I'm like, shoot, well, let me put my PPE back on, because this was like a COVID patient, like in a COVID room. So I'm like, okay, shoot, let me like put on my gear back on. And then, I hear the Code Blue, room 6B, 5 East, of course, that's not the actual room or the unit, but So next thing I know, all the nurses on the unit, they're like rushing over there to like come and help. One person's grabbing the glucometer, another person's like grabbing that defibrillator, another person is like, firing up the computer, start taking down the notes and documenting everything that's happening. And everybody just seems to just be like getting to it and just picking up a task. And me, I'm just kind of like, okay, I kind of feel like, you know, when you're like playing jump rope or like double dutch and you're just kind of like waiting to like figure out where to hop in. So that's how I am. I'm like, okay, there's a lot going on. Where do I jump in? Like, where's my role? What do I do? You know? So, because I've, you know, been in Code Blue simulations, but like never in real life. And it just seemed like everybody else just knew what to do. And I'm just like, okay, where's my place, you know? So what I just decided to do though was just be calm, be confident, and be present for whatever it is, whatever task that's for me. Like, just be ready to just pick it up and do it. So they're like, oh, where's the strips at for the glucometer? I'm like, bam, I got it right here. Oh, where's this? Bam, I got it. Where's that? Bam, I got it. Like, you know, so I'm just being there like ready to like just do whatever is needed of me. And next thing you know, the Code Blue team arrives, the ICU nurse is there, the respiratory therapist is there, the doctor shows up, everybody's kind of just falling into their roles. And I'm just still like, okay, if there's one thing that I know how to do, I know how to do compressions. So I'm gonna just get in line behind the person doing compressions and be ready to do some compressions. You know, the person they're going at, like, okay, I need somebody to swap me out. I'm like, I got you. Like, so I just, you know, like hop in and just, you know, start getting to it, hit the compressions. And, you know, like all this like chaos is just kind of going around. Not chaos, but like just hoopla, you know, like they're like, the doctor's like, hey, push this and push that, or epi or whatever, like, you know, doing the orders, and the ICU nurses, they're like pushing the drugs, and then the respiratory therapist is getting there to help intubate, and then everybody's just like doing their thing. And like, and here I was, you know, doing my thing. Like, I found my role, I found my space, and I felt like, wow, I'm a part of the, I'm part of the team. Like, I'm part of this effort to save this person's life. And I don't know, it was all just really just like so surreal. It's like the craziest thing. Like, the whole time I'm just like praying, oh my God, like help this person live. I don't know if he has a wife, a kids, a family. I don't know what he has going on in his life, but please help us to help him, you know, live. Everything's just happening. And then, you know, next thing I know, they're like, okay, all right, stop. We gotta do a pulse check. And they're like, check the pulse, and they're like, no pulse, keep going. So like going back and doing it again, you know, back to the compressions, and stop, pulse check, still no pulse, dang, go back, you know, keep going. And then finally, I don't know how long it's been, but they're like, all right, pulse check. And they're like, we got a pulse. And then in my head, everybody's like, yeah, we did it, high five. That's what's happening in my head. But in reality, they're like, all right, we got a pulse, let's get him to the ICU. And they, you know, they take the bed, roll him out, and everybody, you know, follows to go to the ICU. And suddenly it's like this empty room of all this chaos that just happened, and now it's just suddenly quiet. And it's like, and you know, all this adrenaline and emotion, all that was just going through my body, and then just suddenly just like, bam, silence. And it's like, okay, now it's time to go check on the rest of your patients, get report, get vitals, go on with the day. And it's like, what? Like, for me, it was like such a huge, just like, it was like a huge just flip around. Like, how do I go from like literally trying to like save somebody who's literally on the edge of losing their life, and then suddenly just like go back to normal, like nothing just happened. And it's like all this high of the energy, adrenaline, emotion, my heart rate, my blood pressure, like everything's just going through my veins. And then suddenly to just drop it like it's hot and just go back to normal was like the craziest thing ever to me. And it was just so weird trying to like come down from this high. Like, I feel like I couldn't even think straight. I couldn't even like get things like together in my head to like, I'm like, okay, wait, what am I doing? Like, wait, get vitals. Okay, how do I get vitals? Temperature, blood pressure cuff, you know, pulse ox. You know, like literally everything's just like soup. Like, my head felt like it was like scrambled eggs after that. And it took me literally the whole entire morning just to like calm down and like settle back into my day. Maybe after lunchtime, I was able to just like get settled and get back into my regular routine. But it was just such a surreal experience. And I was really, really thankful, so thankful that we were able to like literally bring this man like back to life, essentially. It's like crazy. Like, this person was literally like dead. But like, we, like, our efforts and our prayers and our interventions are the reason that this man was able to go from literally about to die, like literally from no pulse to like having a beating heart again. Like one thing I learned from that experience though is how important it is to like know like the basics about your patient, like before you even walk into the room, before you even like take report. So if I didn't know something as simple as what his code status was, which is like your code status is essentially like, what do you want us to do in the event that you're dying? So some people, that could be a partial code, which means they don't want compressions, they only want you to give drugs, or they don't want you to defibrillate them, you know, like a little shocker. Or they don't want to be intubated, which means like have like the tube down their throat to help them breathe. Like sometimes people could specify what interventions they want and don't want. Or if they're DNR, means they don't want to be resuscitated at all. Or if they're full code, means you're gonna do every single thing possible to save them. So if I didn't know what his code status was, that could have been like a moment of hesitation that could have, you know, delayed his care even slightly, you know what I mean? So I realized, wow, it is so important. Like from the moment you even start your shift, you need to, at the very least, like know those simple things about your patient before you even like step into the room. So unfortunately, while I was editing this video, I realized I lost my summary piece, my, you know, wrap it up footage. But it's okay, we're just gonna wrap it up right here. The next thing that I learned, or just realized the importance of in this situation, is how important it is to assess the patient and not just the monitor. It's like the oldest thing in the book in nursing school: assess the patient, not the monitor. Assess the patient, assess the patient. In this instance, that proved to be so important, because had the nurse just been fixated on the telemetry monitor and only figuring out what's wrong with this because we just saw him walking, we might have just been like, oh, let's get a new one, let's replace it, you know, let's get a new battery pack. If we relied solely on our assessment of him like 60 seconds ago, we would have never realized that his status had changed if we didn't look up and she didn't recognize that he wasn't responsive and didn't recognize that he was now pulseless. And that could have been precious minutes that delayed our compressions, or that delayed, you know, the start of this code blue situation. And every minute counts. So in that instance, it was so important to have looked up and assessed the patient so we could have made that call and started that code blue process. The next thing I learned from this situation is that anytime there's a new or scary situation like a code blue, first things first is that you're never going to be alone. Maybe you might be alone from the start of it. You might walk in and find someone not breathing or the heart not beating. But as soon as you press that code blue button, there will be a team of people coming to help support you and surround you and getting through this process of helping this patient. It's never just gonna be you alone trying to take on this huge task by yourself. You may have to, you know, start some compressions by yourself, but there's gonna be a team of people coming to help and get through the situation. Also with that, what I learned too is that just be confident, be present, and do what you know how to do. And in this instance, I knew, all right, this is big, this is scary, but just be confident in the things that I do know how to do. And for me, I was like, okay, if there's one thing I know how to do, it's these compressions. I'm gonna step up and just do that and do it confidently. And as you continue to learn and grow and see new things, the next time you might be more comfortable taking on another task. Maybe next time you're gonna be the recorder, documenting, you know, when it started, what drugs were given, when they were given, who was there, who's calling the orders. You know, every single opportunity, you could just continue to grow and grow in each step. But the most important thing is just being confident and doing what you know how to do and doing it to your best ability. But all in all, of course, you never want a code blue to happen. But for this to have been my very first code blue, I'm very satisfied with the outcome. I'm so thankful that the patient lived. I'm so thankful that I had such a great supportive team. And I'm very happy with everything that I learned from the situation and that I'll be able to take on with me throughout my nursing career. But anyways, that is my very first code blue experience and what I learned from it. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to hear more about my nursing journey, experiences, stories, things I've learned, what I have to share, go ahead and subscribe, because I plan to put out a new video every single week. So subscribe and tell a friend. Anyways, thanks again. Bye-bye.